What's up, guys? Commish Ace Coach 704 accompanying you on Easter Sunday. We're going to be doing a series of videos today. It'll be three. And then this one is going to be the breakdown of the AFC playoff picture as it stands in Week 14. Alright, so we're going to go through the division races first. First in the AFC East, you got the Jets on top at 9-3, Patriots 7-5, Monarchs 6-6. Dolphins are out of it. When you look at the schedules of these three teams that are in this race, you got the Jets. They got a 2-game lead, and I know they've beaten the Patriots once. They beat them back in Week 1. Looks like they've beat them twice, actually, so that's more like a 3-game lead. The interesting thing is they have two matchups with the Monarchs, who are at 6-6, and the Monarchs pretty much have to run the table to try to win the division, but those two matchups will go a long way, and they play this week. The Monarchs have been able to get some wins after joining the league, and they still have a shot in that race because of those two matchups with the Jets. The Patriots at 7-5, they don't have the tiebreaker against the Jets, and their conference record is going to work against them in the wild card situation, which we'll look at a little later in this video. So, the Patriots, I think, are going to have to win out, especially after losing last night to the Ravens in a well-played game. Let's look at their schedule going down the stretch here. And it looks like they have the Monarchs as well. And they've got the Colts and the Panthers. So those are not easy games. All three of those games will be tough. And I think the Patriots are going to have to win out and then hope they get some help in the wild card. It's going to be hard to overtake the Jets at this point. With them being 2 out head-to-head and then losing the tiebreaker as well for the division. Dolphins, we'll see you next year. Yeah. Okay. In the AFC West, you have 3 viable playoff teams with the Chiefs, myself and the Chargers, and the Denver Broncos. Now, the Chiefs are going to take some time away from the game. We had a nice talk the other day, and he's got to focus on some other things. So, given the fact that he's 10-2, I feel pretty confident that he's going to be in the playoffs as a wild card. And that's because not only the 10 wins, but he has a very good conference record. And conference record is one of the tiebreakers that you use when it comes down to wild card situations. But him being away is going to help this playoff race be really interesting because he has the Broncos twice, the Bengals, and the Shamrocks. And all 3 of those teams are very viable in a division race in the AFC North and in the wild card picture. So, that it's going to be really interesting to see how that shapes up. That really obviously helps the Broncos in terms of the wild card situation. I think they're kind of too far back for the division. In my case, it helps in the division race. But, you look at my schedule going down the stretch here. I know I've got the Black Knights twice. I've got the Desperados. And I don't remember. Oh, I have the Browns week 17. So I'm probably going to lose that one. But we all know about the Black Knight struggles and Desperados. That's a toss-up. Whether he can play or not, that's more of the toss-up there. But like I said, it looks good for me in the division, but you never know what can happen. Looking at Denver's schedule going down the stretch, let's take a look because I think they're an interesting case here. I really think with the Chiefs taking this break that it opens things up big for the Broncos to make the playoffs as a wild card. But they still got to do work. They got to beat the Giants. and that's never an easy task. They have them, and then they have the Eagles in Week 17. Um, so with the 2 wins, presumably the 2 wins against Kansas City, with them taking a break, that's going to put them at 9, and then I think they still got to do work. They got to beat the Giants. That's imperative. And then the Eagles, you would figure they would, probably beat them. Probably, he can be tough on any given day. But my bet is you might have 3 playoff teams from the AFC West. You have the division champ and then both the wild cards. But we'll see. You got to play it out. All right, the AFC North, we got a very interesting race here. We've got currently the Shamrocks and the Browns tied for first place at 7-5 in the division. Overall. And then you had the Bengals at 6-6. So this has been the Browns' division for the longest, but they are mired in a 4-game losing streak, which has seen them really open things up for everyone else here to have a shot. So we'll take a look at the Shamrocks schedule down the stretch here first. And I want to see if they've beaten the Browns head-to-head. I don't think they have. Okay, they lost to the Browns 36-0 earlier in the season. And then they've got them coming up in Week 16. So that'll be a big game. They need to get a split so the Browns don't gain the tiebreaker on them. But the Shamrocks have the Packers, Vikings, Browns, and Chiefs going down the stretch. So the Packers can win any given day. I've seen him play, and he's a good offensive player. We all know how good the Vikings can be, and that Browns Shamrocks game, that could be for the division. Things shape out the way they're going, and then the Chiefs, he'll probably still be on a break for the Week 17 game, but we'll see, what happens there. So, it's going to be really good games down the stretch. And, it's hard to predict this year where everyone's going to be, because you got people, got different things going on for different reasons, and they're not around. And you got some guys that are playing, really well, that haven't played so well in years before. So you look at the Browns' remaining schedule. They got a big game this week in Cincinnati. And then they got the Conquistadors, which you figure is a win. And they got that showdown with the Shamrocks, and then they end up with me, and I always lose to the Browns. So, so that's one win you can count on. And that's in Week 17. And then you got the Bengals, who somehow y'all have let him into this playoff talk, and it's boosted his head up to try to take shots at me, which, I beat his ass on the field anyway, so that means nothing. The Bengals are 6-6. They're a game behind both the Browns and the Shamrocks. And you look at their schedule going down the stretch. They got the big game with the Browns this week. They got the Chiefs, and the Chiefs are taking a break. And then you got the Ravens, and then you got the Bears. And that game with the Bears, I think it's going to be the one that is going to say, do the Bengals have a shot of making, the playoffs or not? I think they're going to get the win over the Chiefs because he'll be on a break. The Ravens, we'll talk about that later on today. And then you got the Bears. So that's what you got there in the AFC North. It's really tough to call right now. I still like the Browns. They have the experience. And obviously they've been a really good player throughout the years. But, there's something going on in Cleveland this year. And the door's open. So if the Shamrocks and Bengals can take advantage, I think it'll be great to see someone different win the division, and it'd be a really good thing. AFC South is not much to talk about. The Jags already have clinched the division officially. They're 6 games up on both the Oilers and the Colts. I think the Bulls coming in with the new owner will make that division more competitive next year. But as a result, that's the division races. Let's take a look at how the conference shapes up in terms of the playoffs as a result of those division races and the way they're looking. All right, so you got, let me switch over on the NFC. Okay, so you got Jacksonville at 10-2. They're in the catbird seat for the number 1 seed with the Chiefs taking a break. They're also 10-2. And you got the Jets behind them at 9-3, and you know right now they're sitting at number 2 for the second bye, or the number 2 seed. But the Chargers are also 9-3, and you figure with the Chiefs taking a break and the Chargers' schedule coming up, they can kind of get into that number 2 seed talk, and maybe number 1 if you know the Jags slip up. But I don't see that happening. Just for the hell of it, let's take a look at the Jags' remaining schedule here. If it will come up. And this is for number 1 seed talk. They got the Colts, they got the 49ers, Marshalls, and Oilers. So, you know, those games are not easy. The Colts are always tough, and they're a divisional opponent. Same thing with the Oilers. They'll be motivated week 17. They have nothing else to play for other than to spoil, you know, the Jags, you know, aspirations, and I'm sure that'll be motivating. And the 49ers and Marshalls in the NFC West are not easy at all. So it's not an easy road, you know. They're going to have to earn it. But, you know, those teams are in play for the 2 number 1 seeds. Okay, so then you got a number 3, and that's going to be your 3rd division winner. And that's going to be either the Jets, or most likely be the AFC East divisional winner. Everyone in the AFC North seems to be beating each other up. So I pegged them as a number 4 seed. So whoever doesn't get the whoever didn't get the first 2 seeds between the Jags, Chargers, and Jets, they'll be the number 3 seed. And then your AFC North winner will probably be the number 4 seed. And then your wild card teams, you know, I'm putting Kansas City in as a wild card. Even though he's taking a break, you know, 10 wins, and then he'll have at least a 7-5 conference record. I think that'll be enough to get him into playoffs. And the second wild card is going to come down to the AFC North losers between Shamrocks, Browns, and Bengals, the Broncos, and the Patriots. And then, like I said, when it comes to wild card, you got to look at conference records. And the Patriots' conference record right now is kind of hurting them. And I can't leave out the Monarchs. They're also 6-6, but they have a 5-3 conference record, and that helps a lot when you get down to, you know, tiebreakers. So at this point in the season, you got to see who you're playing in the conference and try to win those conference games, because those matter a lot, especially when it comes to wild card seedings. All right, so that's what we're looking at in the AFC. Thanks for watching. The NFC video will also be posted very soon. Thanks.